सहाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई। मन ही है ये तेरा द्वारा, बैठ यहीं से तुझको पुकारा। मन ही है ये तेरा द्वारा, बैठ यहीं से तुझको पुकारा। प्रेम की ज्योत जलाई, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई। सांची प्रीत तुम्हारी दाता, सांची प्रीत तुम्हारी दाता, इस जग का सब झूठा नाता। हूँ चरणन शरणाई, हूँ चरणन शरणाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई। एक तुही रखवाला जग में, एक तुही रखवाला जग में, तू ही सदा सहाई, तू ही सदा सहाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई, प्रभु तेरी याद महा सुखदाई। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Shri Sanjay Govekar, for such a devotional bhajan, which will make us do our work very easy. National Institute for Transforming India, also called Niti Aayog, was formed via a resolution of the Union Cabinet on January 1st, 2015. Niti Aayog is the premier policy think tank of the Government of India, providing both directional and policy inputs. While designing strategic and long-term policies and programs for the Government of India, Niti Aayog also provides relevant technical advice to the center and states. Bharatiya Shiksha Mandal was founded on the auspicious day of Ram Navami in the year 1969, is working with the objective of national resurgence in the field of education. It aims at evolving national education policy, curriculum system and methodology based on integral Bharatiya vision, rooted in its eternal ethos and centered at overall development of the country. A number of educational, intellectual, and experimental activities are being conducted in all parts of the country, both at school, at higher education levels, to actualize this noble mission of re-establishing Bharatiya education system. And Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandals, Dr. Dada Vaidya College of Education, Ponda, Goa, was established in 1993 in response to the growing demand for teacher education. The college is affiliated to Goa University and recognized by NCTE. The institution offers B.Ed, M.Ed, PhD in education, and diploma in pre-primary teacher training. Today, on 3rd March 2020, with collaboration with all these institutions, we organize national seminar on role of teachers in national education policy, NEP, Awareness, Orientation, Challenges and Responses. Today we have amongst us the chief guest for inaugural of seminar, Chairman of Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal, Shri Bhaskar Khandeparkar, the keynote speaker, Professor Satish Mode, Director, Vivekananda Education Society Institute and Management, Mumbai, the officiating principal of Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandals, Dr. Dada Vedya College of Education, Dr. Jojan Matthew, the coordinator of the seminar, Dr. G. Srinivasan, he is the Assistant Director, IGNOU, Indira Gandhi Open University at Panji, Goa. A warm welcome to one and all and to our dear participants who are going to have a good deliberation during the day on NEP awareness. I request Sir Samir to give a floral welcome to our principal, officiating principal, Dr. Jojan Matthew. And we welcome our chief guest who's online, our chairman, Shri Bhaskar Khandeparkar. We also welcome the keynote speaker, Professor Satish Mode. We welcome the Assistant Director of IGNOU, Dr. G. Srinivasan, and we welcome all the teaching faculty at different colleges at universities of India, and we welcome the teaching faculty of our college and all the participants for this seminar. Thank you very much, Sir Samir. Let me now invite all the dignitaries present to inaugurate the national seminar by lighting the traditional lamp. Our dignitaries, the keynote speaker and the chief guest are present online, offline at the studio of GVM's Dr. Dada Vedya College of Education. We have our officiating principal and the senior faculties of college. I invite you all to inaugurate this national seminar by lighting the lamp. Sir, please. I request the coordinator of this national seminar, Madam Akshata Samant, to kindly join in lighting the lamp.
Samir sir, Sanjay sir, come. Both of you come, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and the senior faculties of GVM's Dr. Dada Vedya College of Education. Role of teachers in national education policy. This is the theme for today, and on this theme, our keynote speaker, Professor Satish Mode, is going to speak. Let me introduce Professor Satish Mode to all the participants. Satish Mode is one of India's leading researchers in the field of business, ethics, and strategy. He is particularly well known for his research on Indian value systems and its application to ethical management. He has been teaching ethics and business ethics at SJM School of Management, IIT Bombay, School of Business Management, NMIMS, deemed to be University, Department of Education, University of Mumbai. Currently, he is professor and director at VESIM, affiliated to University of Mumbai. He has been a member of Association for Practical and Professional Ethics, Indiana University. In 2001, Professor Mode visited Gujarat after the earthquake and lived with volunteers and various NGOs. This created an interest in the field of disaster management, and he started giving lectures on how to save your own life and help others in disasters. He went on to publish various books on disaster management, namely A Citizen Guide to Disaster Management, Introduction to Disaster Management, and Managing Natural Disasters, all published by Macmillan Publishers, India. He has written a pioneering book titled Ethical Management based on Indian value system. His article, Value Based Management, has nearly 8.3 million views on the internet, and an article on Building a Caring Society has more than 3 million views. He is also the author of a popular book, Discover Arjuna in You, published by Jaiko Publishers. Professor Mode was given Devang Mehta Award for Outstanding Contribution to Education in 2014. He was named among 100 most influential directors in India at the World Education Congress held in 2016, held in Mumbai. We welcome you, sir, for this national seminar and invite you to speak on role of teachers in new education policy. We will be obliged to listen to you, and it's our honor to have you amongst us. Sir, Satish Mode, sir, the floor is open. You may take over.
Thank you for this nice introduction. Namaste to all the participants. I will be using a PowerPoint presentation, and I will be starting a presentation now. Can you see the screen, the presentation? If somebody can tell me.
No, sir, no. No.
No?
No.
I think you will have to make me a presenter or something. The organizers will have to allow me to make presentation because it is not allowing me to share.
Sir,
How? Hello. I think you can see now. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can see now.
Okay.
Please go on the slide presentation mode, sir.
Yeah, I am in the slide presentation mode. Yeah. So as told to all of you, the topic of today's lecture is teachers' role in NEP 2020. This presentation will have three sections. One will be what should be a teacher's role in education. The second will be about some key points of national education policy. and how teachers will be contributing in implementing those points of national education policy. And third will be specific points which are related to teachers in this new education policy. So first, I will go to the teacher's role. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan was former president of India. He said that teachers play an important role in the creation of the country, and that is why they deserve more respect. This sounds very good to the ears of teachers, but what has happened in last 60, 70 years, if we really look at practically, best of the students, they go on in private sector, and many of them try to go to IAS, or many of them go abroad, and many of them who don't find opportunities for any other job, they keep on doing their education and they become teachers and professors. And once you don't have proper quality of teachers, then the education system suffers. Even if you have the best of the curriculum, the teaching will suffer and it will be impacted in actual outcome of the students. So the new education policy has really looked into these issues, and it wants to put teacher again in the leading position. How this will be done, we will discuss in the coming slides. There are some people who are having their mic on, so the traffic noise is coming. Okay, thank you. So in the new education policy of India, special attention has been given to the qualification and training of teachers apart from the education system. Because if we don't have properly trained teachers, we cannot expect them to deliver. Today, what happens is a person applies for a teacher's job, he or she is recruited and directly thrown in the classroom, and all the learning happens at the cost of the students. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, by own experience and feedback, the person becomes a good teacher. But in the intervening period, 4 or 5 years, it is the student and the education which suffers. So in the new education policy, they have tried to take care of this so that when the teacher goes to the classroom, he or she is already well trained. Then what is the role of teachers actually in education? Mahatma Gandhi said that teachers are there for all-round developments of students. That is, you have to develop their soul, brain, speech, and deeds. All of them should be in balance. How this can be done, that is, and how to implement this, that is the issue. Swami Vivekananda, he described this all-round development as a person having a big heart, developed mind, and great karma without expecting results. When you say big heart, it means the person should be compassionate, empathetic towards others with whom he or she is working. Developed mind indicates the high level of analytical and emotional skills so that a person is not disturbed in the crisis situation. And they should be able to do their karma without expecting results. Currently, our education system is so competitive that everyone is talking about only percentage, 80%, 90%, 99%. Some of them get 100%. But actually, when they go out in the field, they may not succeed. So this education policy has tried to bring in some elements where we can have all-round development. So teachers play a very big role in shaping the life of students. In Sanskrit, there is a saying, Vidya Gurunam Guru. Vidya is Guruon ka Guru. Jo Guru hai, uska bhi Guru hai. If you don't have knowledge, then you cannot be a good teacher. And if you have knowledge, you can even teach teachers. So the whole education system has to be in such a way that knowledge is implanted, is given to everyone in a way they understand. In Ramayana, when there is a story of Bharat Milap, Bharat goes to meet Rama, and Ram says that I am not coming back. And Bharat is given his wooden sandals, Paduka, and told to go back to Ayodhya and rule the country. At that time, Rama is asking many questions. In Valmiki Ramayana, there are many questions, nearly 69 shlokas, where Rama is asking Bharat whether you are doing this, whether you are doing that. So in one of the questions, he asks Bharat whether you have an education system where Tri Vidya is given to all the students. Vidya Trisha, this is the kind of word has been used in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, what is this Tri Vidya? This is 3 types of knowledge. It has to be given to all the students for their all-round development. So first type of knowledge is knowledge of unknown, knowledge of absolute truth, knowledge of goodness, behavior, all those things which makes a person human. We can also say life skills. So every student has to be given a good background in this sphere of knowledge. The second type of knowledge is about governance, about business management, about trade, commerce. If you don't have that knowledge, then whatever work you are doing, there will be somebody who will misuse your ignorance. And if those who govern you, they don't have knowledge of governance, then there will be a lot of corruption and ill management of government's resources. So this is the second type of knowledge. And the third type of knowledge is skill oriented. All medicine, engineering, technology, science, music, sports, there are so many skills which we need to learn. So Ram is asking Bharat whether you have an education system where all the students are given Tri Vidya. Now, it has to be given based on the choices of students. There will be some students who would like to devote more time in understanding the concept of God and absolute truth, but less interested in knowing governance and skills. But there may be students who will be more interested in learning technology, science, medicine, Ayurveda, and less interested in management and absolute truth. And there will be some students who will be more interested in governance. So there has to be a balance where there will be 60% of the subject knowledge which you want to learn and 20% of the other field, so that there is an all-round development. So we need to evaluate whether this new education policy actually moves in that direction, and teachers then have a very big role in implementing such a Tri Vidya to all the students so that they have all-round development. So that is where the teachers have their specific responsibility towards the society with full readiness. So teachers have to create a generation that is bright and intelligent, that understands the world in the same way as it is, not some virtual world in which you live in. And they should be understanding the world without being affected by emotions, but they should understand the world by logic and facts. If we have education system where these 3 things are fulfilled, then we will say that teachers are fulfilling their duty. So what is the teacher's role in NEP 2020? So it has put in place systemic reforms that would help teaching emerge as an attractive profession of choice. We know that in today's education system, if you want to become a doctor, you go to a medical college. If you want to become engineer, you go to engineering technology college. Or if you want to learn sports, you go to a sports college. But if you want to become a teacher, there is no college where you really learn the art and skill of teaching. Teaching is not just knowledge, but it is also a skill where you should be able to share your knowledge and disseminate your knowledge in a most efficient and effective manner. So this new education policy 2020 wants to empower teachers and restore the high respect and status to this profession, hoping that it would eventually attract the best minds and talent to choose teaching as their profession. How it will be done? So as a first step, the National Education Policy is talking about a national curriculum framework for teacher education. What they are saying that by the end of 2021, there will be a draft which will prepare a national curriculum framework for teacher education, which will be implemented, and this will provide all-round development of teachers, and not only when they have become teachers, but even before they want to become teacher. So they will cover all the aspects of teaching, pre-service and in-service. And how this will be done, we will see in coming slides. So the basic philosophy of this new education policy 2020 is that we have to create a generation.
Satish ji, may I interrupt you, please?
Yeah.
The slides are not getting navigated, sir.
You are not seeing these slides?
No, only the first slide is visible. Teachers' role in NEP. I think you are navigating, but they are not visible.
I can see that it is there.
Yeah, now it is happening.
Okay.
Make it slideshow, please.
I had gone to
slideshow.
I had gone to slideshow, then that is where it was not being shown. Okay, if you can see this is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course the slides will be more interesting now. So far what I was saying were only the points. So the philosophy of education policy is basically to create generation of students who will be having a holistic development. They will be expert in their domain field, and they will also be aware of ethics and morality and of the culture and traditions of the society in which they live in. Because in the current education system, we want to make everybody in the same mold, and there is hardly any option for going into different fields. But when you want to give option, then you have to create teachers who can use those options and actually develop students. Options without teachers will be of no use. Whether we can create a system of the earlier rishis, where rishis were experts and they had their own gurukul based on their expertise, and students who wanted to learn a specific subject would go to those rishis and become experts in those particular field. Maybe we cannot create those kind of rishi gurukul, but we can still create in modern society education institutions and universities where there will be experts and rishis slowly develop with their own knowledge and experience, and they will be known for some particular expertise, and students will go there. If I remember, there is education music school, Bhatkhande music school, where students, if want to learn music, they go there. There is cricket academy, there is a badminton academy, where Prakash Padukone is the teacher. That is nothing but a Rishikul system, where because he is expert in badminton, so all sports players who want to learn badminton, they go to his Gurukul or his academy and they learn badminton. So that is the way the Rishi system should work. So the new education policy, whether it allows this kind of creation of education system where experts in their field come in the classroom or students go to them and learn their subjects from the experts. So let us see whether these aspirations are fulfilled. In the beginning, I will give you some structural reforms which are being done in this new education policy. So all of you by now must be knowing that the current classification of school education will be changed. Currently, we have nursery, LKG, UKG in the initial 3 to 6 year period, then class 1 to class 8. Class 10, up to class 10, we have a kind of primary and secondary education, and 11th and 12th, we have junior college, somewhere they call pre-university. But what the new education policy is trying to do is that from 3 years to 8 years, that is a nursery, LKG, UKG, class 1 and class 2. These 5 years, this will be a foundational education system. Anganwadi, preschool, Balvatika, all these 5 years. And this preschool, there is no medium. You know, currently, right from preschool, we have English medium nurseries or Marathi medium or Hindi medium. This new education policy is saying that for this foundational course, students of any language would come together and learn. And how they will learn? They will learn by play and activities based learning. So you just observe and see whether you understand the language or not, but you should be able to use your body in a way it is designed to be. Currently, we send our children to nursery, LKG and UKG, and we want to say that your ward is started writing and speaking and recognizing ABCD and all those things. But the child's body is not designed to do all that. First, they should understand the full control of their body, and they should be able to exercise full control of their body and mind. So the first 5 years of education system envisages that it will be a foundational framework of 5 years. Then there will be 3 years of preparatory school, that is class 3, class 4, class 5. And here languages will be mother tongue. This education will be in mother tongue. So if your mother tongue is Marathi, your mother tongue is Gujarati, so this particular learning should be in your mother tongue. That is what will create self-respect and self-confidence in students. Because currently what happens is that at your home you speak mother tongue, and when you go to school, the same objects are described in English in a different manner. So in the child's mind, there is a lot of confusion about what you have learned at home, whether it is really worthwhile, and what you are learning in school, whether it is worthwhile. So there is a confusion. So there should not be any confusion in the child's mind, which is still developing. So that learning will be based on activities, study, and interactive. And there will be some examination about what you are learning. That is the preparatory school. Then class 6, 7, and 8 is middle school, where actually you start having options of maths, science, arts, social science, coding, internship, vocational courses, Indian languages. So in the middle school, the breadth of your learning will actually start expanding. And based on your ability, you will understand that in which area you are really good. And for the next secondary stage of 4 years, that is 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, there will be choice of subjects. So when you understand whether you are good in maths, you are good in science, you are good in arts, so in next stage of secondary education, you start having your choice of subjects and flexibility in curriculum. And this will be semester-wise examination. So this is a kind of school education structure they are talking about. So in a nutshell, this particular slide says that the whole idea of school education will be conceptual understanding, training of mind, and focus on life skill. That's what I said about Trividya in Ramayana, that the initial focus on life skill is very, very important. And then extracurricular activities will become part of the curriculum. Today, if a child wants to play cricket, after the school hours, that child goes to play cricket. But in the new education policy, they say that whether you want to learn any music or sport or something, you will get credit for that subject, and you can choose those subjects based on your hobby which you want to pursue. And vocational skills, currently we have a separate vocational school. And actually what they are trying to do in national education policy is that vocational skills will also be part of your credit selection, so that at the end of school after 12th, if you don't want to study further, you have some vocational skill with which you can lead, you can start earning. So at least one skill post schooling one has to be master. It could be sports, it could be music, it could be some welding, it could be foundry, whatever it is, based on what facilities you can give. So generally this will provide a 360-degree holistic progress card. In higher education, all of you would be already aware that there will be certification at all levels. So first year will be certificate, second year if you go out and leave the education, it will be diploma, third year it will be bachelor's degree, and fourth will be bachelor's degree with research. And it provides enough avenues for students. If they cannot pursue education after first year or second year, they have a certificate or a diploma, and they can after 2-3 years, if they have enough money again, they can get admission in third year in any university in America, so in India. So wherever you are, if you are moving a place because of some reasons, even then all the universities will recognize this certificate and diploma and bachelor's degree, and you can get admission into any university if you are, even if you are taking a break. So multiple exits and entries allowed. They have found that MPhil is not serving any purpose. It just becomes a pre-PhD course. So MPhil has been dropped. And post-graduation has been designed as 1 or 2 years. If you have done a 4 years of graduation, undergraduation, then you have only 1 year of post-graduation. But if you have done only 3 years of undergraduation, then you will have 2 years of post-graduation. So graduation is 3 or 4 years course, post-graduation is 1 or 2 years. And there will be academic bank of credits. So all the things are digital. So when you move from one university to another, you can transfer your credits, and subjects will be based on major subject and minor subject. Today what happens is you take admission into BCom, BA, BSc, and there is no flexibility of movement from one stream to another. Here there is a total flexibility. You can take, after first year of learning, you will know that what you want to take subjects as a major or minor, and from second year you start taking those subjects as major and minor. And most of the learning you can choose based on your own requirements. So this is one major transformational step in higher education system. Then the concept is multidisciplinary education and research universities. There will be a university system which will be divided into 3 types of systems. There will be autonomous colleges which can give degrees. There will be universities with only teaching, and there will be multidisciplinary universities with research. So all the universities and colleges which are there today, by some time frame, they will have to convert into this system. So the current system of affiliated colleges will go away, and when I will reach the timeline, you will exactly know that what government is thinking and by what time this affiliation system and the current system will disappear. The admission will happen through examination of board examination, so there will be no separate entrance examination. So across the country, there will be 12th examination conducted by national test agencies or some other agency, and that itself will become the marks for admission into higher education. Then they are thinking of providing for this skill education, artist in residence, that if somebody is a music exponent, then he need not have a master's degree or PhD from the universities, but just because of his skills, you can recruit that person either in schools or in higher education as a teacher or professor. And current system of UGC and AICTE and so many other boards and all that will be merged into a HEI, which will be governed by Board of Governors. So how higher education will change is that currently you have UGC and AICT, which does policy making, overall monitoring, regulatory, accreditation, funding and financing, and educational framework. So in the new policy, they are talking about policy making National Higher Education Regulatory Council, NHERC, National Accreditation Council, NAC, Higher Education Grants Council, HEGC, and General Education Council, GEC. So the first part, NHERC will take care of regulatory framework, NAC will take care of accreditation, HEGC will take care of funding and financing, and GEC will take care of educational framework. So there will be some bill which will be presented in Parliament. It should be there in this budget session or in the next session. But by the end of this year, we will see that the UGC and AICT, as we know, will no more be there. And there will be a Higher Education Commission of India, which will be regulating higher education. So what are the new concepts and major initiatives in this new education policy? So one is ABC, Academic Bank of Credits. So that's what will allow transfer of certificate, diploma, degree from one university to another. So there will be Academic Bank of Credits. Lok Vidya. Lok Vidya talks about that there are various districts in our country where there is a specific expertise. So those kind of expert skills will be available to learn in the new education policy and in the universities and schools where you can learn Lok Vidya. Because currently this Lok Vidya has become only a kind of showcase items, and people are showcased that they know all this. But actually there is a need to resurrect those Lok Vidyas. Then there will be National Mission for Mentoring, a system of mentoring of various institutions will be there. And a common grading system, standards and norms for public and private schools will be there. Currently, we have different norms, different boards, but with this new education policy, there will be common so that there will be an easy transfer of credit from one place to another. So how this can happen is there will be educational clusters, because one school may not have all kinds of infrastructure. So they are talking about Samajik Chetna Kendras, sharing of resources, special education zones, cluster resource centers, international student office, school complex management committees, school management committees, pairing of private schools and public schools, and Bal Bhavan. So all this will be integrated. So you can have a group of 4 or 5 schools in a vicinity, and a student admitted in one particular school can go to another school to learn some subject which is this particular school has no facility. Same thing can happen when you make a cluster of colleges for degrees, autonomous colleges, which can share resources to so that you don't have to invest money in developing your infrastructure and going to AICT and UGC for all the time to increase 5 seats or 10 seats or change the subjects. All this autonomy will be given to institutions of learning. Another major concept is about digitalization. So a lot of things you might have heard about, and we have already used these digital platforms in a very big way in last 1 year because of Corona. So all of you already know about this digitalization which is happening. So we come back to teachers' role in this new education policy. They are talking about pupil-teacher ratio of 1:30. Currently, if you go to our schools, you have a batch of 60, or in junior colleges, I have seen batch of 120 and 180. How can a teacher talk to 180 students and really teach them? It only becomes one-way transmission of knowledge. So they are trying to fix pupil-teacher ratio of 30:1. Then there will be teachers eligibility test. This will be there to understand the competence of teachers, and only when you clear this TET, you will be allowed to be a teacher. And if you are already a teacher, then you have to undergo deficiency, to correct your deficiencies to remain a teacher. So there is again a timeline for existing teachers and a timeline for new teachers to be inducted in the system. Then they are talking about master instructor and local expertise. So as I was saying, say they in Banaras they talk about Banarsi sari, but that how to make that Banarsi sari is not taught in education institutions. So those who want to learn to make Banarsi sarees, they are out of the educational system and they learn there, and they don't get the all-round development which we are looking at. Or say in Murshidabad, they make kaase ka bartan. But if they are learning those skills, if that is integrated in the educational system, so then there will be all-round development. So they are talking about master instructor and local expertise in the education system. And then they are talking about special educators who will be masters in their field, and they will be monitoring the training of teachers in various fields. Then we are talking about CPD 50 hours each year. It is to be made compulsory so that you can upgrade your skills. CMP, career management and progression. There will be a new schemes which will be for career management and progression. NTA test will be there for admission into 4-year integrated B.Ed course by 2030. The existing B.Ed courses will go away, and there will be only a 4-year integrated B.Ed course will be there. And those who pass this B.Ed degree, they will only be allowed to teach in schools. And then NCFTA, which I talked about, and NPST, this will come into force by 2021 and 22. The 9th point is no non-teaching activities. This is a very, very major thing. Currently, if there is a Jangadana population counting, you ask teachers to do some government jobs. If there is election, then there is election duty to teachers. So there is a lot of things which happen in education institutions. A year before, I am an NBA evaluator. So I had gone to engineering college in Bilaspur for NBA evaluation. And they were showing me their labs, and they were saying that for last 3 months, these labs are not functioning, and we are trying to set up the lab again because the government took away that lab for election duty. And when they take any education institution for election duty, they simply rip apart all the things which is existing. You have to they just throw away everything, and they set up their thing as if they have come some super bosses. And after the election is over, they take away their materials, and you take a lot of time to set up things again. So no non-teaching activities will be allowed in educational institutions, and teachers will not also be asked to do these non-teaching activities. If this happens, this will play a very big role in streamlining the education. And teachers, education institutions will be there where you will learn to teach. So in nutshell, there will be 4-year integrated B.Ed course. The minimum degree qualification for school teachers is conceived as a multidisciplinary and integrated dual major bachelor's degree in education as well as a specialized subject. So like we have 4 years of engineering, 5.5 years of medical education, there will be 4 years of B.Ed where teachers will be taught all the skills to be a teacher, and they will have dual major bachelor, so that these are the subjects which they will be teaching. Only those subjects they will be teaching, none of other subjects. And the admission to this course will be based on National Testing Agency. And there will be shorter post B.Ed certificate courses will be available for career growth to upgrade their skills. So this teacher eligibility test will now be extended to cover teachers across all the new stages: foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary of school education. For subject teachers, TET as well as NTA test scores in the corresponding subjects will also be considered for recruitment. So if you want to be a maths teacher, then you have to score a very good score in NTA test. Then only you can be a maths teacher. Today, a teacher goes to the classroom and teaches language, mathematics, or any subject which comes in front of them. This is not going to be there. Then the NEP 2020 also encourages school complexes to hire local eminent persons or experts as master instructors, which I already covered. So by 2022, a set of national professional standards for teachers, NPST, which I mentioned earlier, will be created. That will determine all aspects of teacher career management, including tenure, continuous professional development efforts, salary increases, promotions, and other recognitions. So we will have an NPST framework in next by the end of next year. It also talks about teacher audit or performance appraisals that will be carried at regular intervals. This is very important. There has to be 360-degree evaluation of teachers' ability by parents, by students, and by their peers. Then only we will know. So based on that, their career progression will happen. And school teachers must undergo 50 hours of CPD opportunities every year to keep themselves by attending workshops or online teacher development modules. So you have to keep abreast of what is happening in your area. Then NEP 2020 also gives teachers autonomy in selecting appropriate pedagogy and encourages them to also ensure socio-economic, emotional learning of their students, which is a critical aspect of holistic development. Today, in most of the schools, teachers are given a textbook and they just try to cover the portion. So if you ask any teacher, two things are always there on their tongue. One is portion and another is load. These two words are most degrading for a teacher. If your teaching is becoming a load, then you are no more a teacher. So this new education policy is talking about teachers' autonomy, and they want to create innovation in teaching. So it will be encouraged, and all the innovating practices will be recognized, documented, and shared widely, so that the teaching skills develops in all the teachers. Close collaboration is recommended among schools within a school complex. It will reduce teacher isolation experienced by teachers working in smaller schools. So those school complexes will encourage this. So what is the timeline? So by 2021, a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education will be formulated by the National Council of Teacher Education, NCTE, in consultation with the NCRT. The minimum degree qualification for teaching will be 4-year integrated B.Ed course by 2030. A common national professional standards of teachers will be in place by 2022. The formulation of a new and comprehensive national curricular framework for school education, NCFAC, will be there by 2021. So the whole curricula of school education will be decided. So mostly for this, a bill will come into Parliament where this national curricular framework, a body will be created which will design the national curricular framework. As also a curriculum framework for teacher education, which I already talked about, NPST. The assessment system for schools may be transformed by the academic session of 22-23 in accordance with the proposed NCF. The target of achieving universal foundational literacy and numeracy in primary school is set for 2025. So by 2025, the separation of this 3+2 into 1 block of 5 years, it has to be completed by 2025. So this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 has to be achieved in incremental manner by 2025. And it is by that year end that at least 50% of learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. So the target is set that at least in 50% of the schools and colleges in the country, the vocational education, skill education becomes integrated in the current framework. For higher education, academic credit transfers are expected to be put in place by December 2020 for select institutions. As I know, many of the central universities, there are more than 40 central universities. They have already created this kind of credit transfers, and from the next academic year, they will be offering this academic credit transfer. Multiple exit and entry points to start again from 2021. The 4-year degree program, again, many of the central universities will start offering this 4-year program. I already know that some of the private universities have started offering this 4-year program from the year 21 onwards. And common interest test will be worked out by February, March 2021. We are already reading in newspapers that a system is being created where a national test will be conducted for admission into most of the universities. And initially it will be option based. Those universities which will opt for that, they will be using those scores. The next significant year is 2030. Interestingly, extending support for early childhood care and education, which has earned considerable appreciation and applause, must thus be achieved as soon as possible and no later than 2030. So by 2030, all those 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 will be implemented. There will be no school in the country which will not be doing this particular thing. So all those people who are listening, and if they are part of management of educational trust, they should set the target in next 8 to 9 years. It has to be done. That is also the year proposed to attain 100% gross enrollment ratio in preschool to secondary level. The biggest idea of this new education policy is preventing the drop. Currently, what happens is after 10th, a lot of students, there is a break in education. And because 11th and 12th, they cannot get admission again, so they have to appear as private students to get the 12th degree, and then good universities don't admit them. By combining 9, 10, 11, 12, there is possibility of no break in the education. So after 8th, when you have done 9, 10, 11, 12 continuously, so even if there is a break of 3-4 years and you want to start your college education, there is no hindrance, because today's figure says that after 10th, nearly 50% of students drop out from all kinds of education. So this is going to be one of the biggest game changer in this new national education policy. Also, by then, we may expect at least one large multidisciplinary higher education institution in or near every district. So the idea is that there has to be a multidisciplinary research university in every district. So we have nearly 400, 500 districts. So every district will have this kind of large university where the quality education is available. That is, again, the target is 2030. Further, we learned that since this process will take time, all HEIs will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary by 2030 and then gradually increase student strength to the desired level. So all colleges will be autonomous and they will be giving their own degrees. The next landmark is 2035, by which the GER in higher education, including vocational education, is expected to reach 50%. Currently, we have 27-28% of gross enrollment ratio. The new policy says that by 2035, at least 50% of school-going children should be going to higher education. It is also the year by when affiliated colleges are to be phased out. So there will be no more affiliated colleges by 2035. And all HEIs in India will aim to become independent, self-governing institutions having boards of governors in place. And it is by 2040 that we can expect an education system that is second to none, with equitable access to the highest quality education for all learners, regardless of social or economic background. So that is the target. So once by 2035, all colleges are autonomous, and in school education, that 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is implemented. So by 2040, the whole education system will mature, and we expect that we will have the best education system which will provide. So this is a graphic presentation of these milestones from 2021 to 2040. So with this, I would say that my time is up, and I am open for questions and answers if it is allowed by organizers. Thank you. Hello, my presentation is over. Yes. The moderator, yeah. Your mic is muted. Cannot hear you. No, no sound.
Sir, we are running out of time, so we will take the question session later if we have enough time. Thank you, Professor Satish Mode, for detailed lecture on role of teachers in National Education Policy 2020. Thank you very much. Shri Khandeparkar, a well-known architect from the state of Goa, takes keen interest in education. As we know, he is chairman of Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal's working committee, who believes in spreading quality education amongst the young generation of Goa. Sir is an environmentalist and has been devoting his time for betterment of environment and education in Ponda and in Goa. Sir, it's an honor to listen to you on this occasion of National Seminar on National Education Policy. Sir will be speaking on how to reduce gap between private and government educational institutions. Sir Khandeparkar, the floor is all yours. You can start on this topic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, can you hear me? Hello? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I have been given the topic to speak on how to reduce the gap between private and government educational institutions. First, let us accept there is a gap. But I would differentiate here as regards school education and higher education. And at least in Goa and in many parts of the country, this gap between the private and government-aided educational institutions in higher education is not there. Most of the institutes of higher education, which are run by the government, are doing extremely well, and their ranking is much higher when compared to other privately run institutes. But at the school level, this gap definitely exists. And when did we get to know about this? Is when a few years back, organization PISA, which is a program for international student assessment. This is a international organization which assesses students in mathematics, science, and reading at a certain level, at 5th level. And when they went to the schools in Himachal Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, we found that our ranking was woefully low. Out of the 73 nations, our rank was 72. And the one nation that was below us was Kyrgyzstan. So you can understand the kind of teaching that happens in government schools all over India. But later, government discontinued permission for PISA. And I believe this year, in 1921, they have again given the permission to PISA to reassess the students in other places in India. So maybe PISA went to government schools and assessed them. if they would go to private schools, maybe their results would be different. Now, how is the education carried out in India? See, we have two kinds of schools in India. One is a private school run privately, and other is a government-aided school, is a purely government school. Now, what is the position of these two kinds of schools in India today? The private schools are well run. They follow a better curriculum. There is better accountability of teachers. They have good, they are privately funded. Plus, commercialization has also crept in private schools. The fees are exorbitant, but these fees are also plowed back into the system, and these private schools are doing very, very well. And all the other people from other strata of society also aspire to send their children to these private schools. And the government schools, on the other hand, do not have the infrastructure. The teachers' positions which are vacant are not filled. They have other duties like Professor mentioned just now, election duties. Their curriculum is not completed. So the students in these schools do not get the kind of facilities that the children enjoy in a private school. So this creates a lot of stratification in the society. And the other important thing is that I have noticed that the children in the private schools are third, fourth generation learners. Their grandfathers are postgraduates. Whereas in government schools, most of the students are first generation learners. So we should be spending more time on these students, more resources must be made available. But that is not happening. Let us see with the new education policy and the government funding if this situation improves. Now, recently when the Prime Minister spoke in the Parliament, he mentioned the role of private sector in business. He said it's not the business of the government to be in business. Well, it's also not the business of the government to be in education. If the private players are given more leeway, they are partially funded by the government, then this gap between the private school and the government aided school can be considerably reduced. Now, this is easier said and done. How will government trust government money in private individuals? Well, with direct benefit into the accounts of the parents, the education vouchers, money can be provided into the hands of the poorer sections of the society so that they can get admission into the private schools. Well, there was I believe a Supreme Court decision or something in this regard, or maybe the decision of the Delhi government, wherein they made it compulsory to reserve certain percentage of the seats in private schools for economically weaker section. I'm not aware to the extent it has been practiced. Maybe it's still on paper, but we really do not know whether the students from economically weaker section can get admission into the premier schools of Delhi. Now, as I said, that the role of private sector must be stressed, and people who are determined to improve the education system in India must be given sufficient leeway funding by the government to improve education. Now let us take the example of Goa. Well, Goa, we have three kinds of schools. We have private schools, we have government schools, and in between these two schools, we have what we call aided schools. Now, this aided school concept is also there in some of the other states, but the kind of funding that the aided school gets in Goa I do not think any other state has that kind of system or will be even able to afford that kind of funding. So most of the school education in Goa is handled by these aided schools like us. Now we are here for last, Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal is here for last 110 years. There are so many aided institutes of this nature in Goa, which are even recently formed, which are completely aided by the government. And aid to the extent that the entire teacher salary, that too at the 7 pay commission scale, are paid by the government. The management gets money to run the institute on certain percentage of salaries. They get money to create the infrastructure under infrastructure grants. So the school management and appointment of teachers is the sole purview of the management. There is hardly any interference from the government side in appointment of teachers. So the entire teachers of particular schools are controlled by the management. So there is a better accountability and entire funding comes from the government. So this is the three-tiered structure that is prevalent in Goa. That is the government schools, the aided schools, and the private schools. Now, private school of late, as we all know, has become, the commerce have crept in, and there is a commercialization of this system. So the fees are exorbitant. A normal person is not able to pay. But in many of the aided schools are as good as private schools, and the top rankers of Goa, particularly in the state Goa, come from aided high schools, which are completely managed by the private managements, but 100% funded by the government with little or no interference of any government babu controlling the schools. They have overall control in a sense like audits and all, but overall the day-to-day administration as well as other aspects of education are controlled by the managements. And this kind of system has played a pivotal role in educating the people of Goa, is working excellently. There are very little complaints of aided high schools, but and the managements all over Goa are doing playing a stellar role in education system of Goa. Now, let us take, so if these kind of aided high schools are repeated in rest of the country, then to a large extent, this gap between the private and the government educational institutions can easily be bridged by having an aided school concept, the kind of one which is there in Goa, wherein almost 80 to 90% of the children study. We have absolutely bridged this gap. We have virtually hardly any gap between a private school and aided school. Even in the villages, aided school is the first choice of the parents. The parents are the best judges to judge the school. We have vibrant PTAs, so there is a better interaction between the parents, teachers, the management, and also the students. Now, if this kind of system is repeated in the rest of the country, in the new education policy, this gap can easily be bridged. But as I said earlier, it is easier said than done. Whether the government has that kind of funding to do, presently it is woefully less. Government has promised that they will double the expenditure on education. And other most important factor is how can government in a big state like UP and Bihar, how can they trust such a huge amount into the hands of private players? Whether they will be doing it honestly, that is a big question. Now, if this is worked out, or maybe government can work out in terms of private sector playing a major role, and government transferring money to the parents directly, or like education vouchers, so that parents can take admission into private schools by paying part fees and part by means of the vouchers provided by the government. I think this system will work out better in bigger states. What is happening in Goa, or what is feasible in Goa, which is Goa is a size of a district, that may not be possible in the rest of the country, and that kind of funding also may not be possible. So a partial payment of private fees by means of education vouchers, or directly giving the money into the accounts of the parents, or into the accounts of directly into the based on number of students paying, government paying part of the fees directly into the account of the educational system, will also help the managements to admit students from all status of society. Because if you want to create a kind of infrastructure, if the private entities, they have to create a kind of infrastructure that the education needs today, then they also need funding. In Goa, we get money to construct buildings, we get money to buy furniture, we get money to pay salaries, and with all this, Goa has been doing almost equal to, or if not better than other good state, that is Kerala, in the field of education. So this is the but again I will go back to the last thing I had said, is whether this gap really exists. This gap exists in school level, but I must say, to the credit of government organizations, that at higher education level, this gap hardly exists. I must say it does not exist. Take the example of the top professional colleges in India. They are entirely government colleges, entirely funded by the government. Take Goa Medical College. It is the first choice of the students. Entirely funded by, it's a government college, entirely funded by the government. It's one of the top colleges of Goa and maybe India too. We are Goa Engineering Colleges. Goa Engineering College is entirely funded by Goa government, and is the top one of the top colleges, engineering colleges in India. We have, I think, we have 5 engineering colleges which are privately managed. 4 are privately managed. Maybe one is in government sector. That is Goa Engineering College. But after IIT and after NIT, Goa Engineering College is the first choice of the bright students for engineering courses in the state of Goa. So it is not that government is doing not well in all spheres of education. In higher education, is definitely does well. Now, our own college is a virtually aided college, that is College of Education. Even in this sector, in education sector, College of Education, government doesn't have, I believe, one which is entirely run by the government. It is run by privately aided institutes. But the one which are run by the government, like Goa Medical College, Goa Engineering College, are doing exceedingly well. So if it is happening at higher education level, you have to find out why it doesn't happen at the school and a higher secondary level. But instead of finding but if I sincerely believe that if government infuses funds and takes care that there is no leakage of funds directly into the hands of the managements or through the parents with the vouchers, by giving aid to the private schools, I think we should be able to bridge this gap in maybe a few years' time in the rest of India. We in Goa have by and large bridged this gap with the aided system. Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm grateful for sharing my experiences with you. Thank you. Yes, Karuna?
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much
Yeah, Karuna?
for that in-depth knowledge about NEP.
Hello?
Sir, you can hear me?
Yeah, now
Sir,
I can hear.
thank you very much for that in-depth lecture on private and government educational institution. We know that you are very much interested in improving the education system in Goa. That's why you are working so hard through Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal's working committee. Thank you very much. Now
Thank
I
you. Thank
request
you.
Dr. Jojan Matthew to address the gathering on training and development of teachers. Dr. Jojan Matthew is officiating principal of Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal's Dr. Dada Vaidya College of Education, has been guiding all of us in various fields of education. Sir, please guide us on the above said topic.
Respected Professor Satish Moth, keynote speaker for today. Honorable Chairman, Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal, Working Committee, Sri Bhaskar Kandaiparkar sir, and Chief Guest for today, and Dr. G. Srinivas, Coordinator of the seminar, members of the Working Committee of Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal, and all the participants. And we are very, very happy that we could organize a national seminar on NEP. Though we had discussions at different times at our college level on NEP, today we got an opportunity to have resource persons from the national level, especially like people like Professor Satish Moth has explained most of the things related to teachers, teacher education. My topic for today is teachers and training of teachers. As we all know that education is the most powerful instrument for social progress. It is the greatest power yet known to man for his own improvement. Education viewed from a social system perspective comprises three main elements: teachers, students, and curriculum. The teacher is the basic element affecting the educational process more than other two elements. Among all the educational resources, teachers' abilities are especially crucial contributors to students' learning. All the education commissions and national policies, right from Secondary Education Commission 1952 to 53 to NEP 2020, have underlined the vital role the teacher has to play in the reconstruction of education. The Secondary Education Commission said, we are, however, convinced that the most important factor in the contemplated educational reconstruction is the teacher, his or her personal qualities, educational qualifications, professional training, and the place he or she occupied in the school as well as in the community. Teachers are the builders of the nation. NP 1986 stated that no people or no nation can rise above the level of its teachers. Teacher is the most important person in the whole education enterprise. Hence, the quality and efficiency of education depends on the quality of teachers. Unless we bring quality into teacher, we cannot expect innovation or change in the quality of the product that is education. The quality of teachers include all the personality dimensions of a teacher: span of knowledge, teaching skills, teacher behavior, which even includes his or her emotional intelligence. A couple of years ago, I conducted a study among the B.Ed students. The topic was factors that influence the career choice of graduates who join for B.Ed program. To my surprise, I found that not even a single student who went for an aptitude test or a career counseling before joining for the B.Ed program. Only 10% of students out of 100 tried to find out about the requirements of the course before joining B.Ed program. More than 60% of the students who participated in the survey did not have any specific reason for joining for the B.Ed course. And 7% of students who joined for the course had some exposure to teaching because they were taking some tuition classes. So from this study, I found that it is very, very important that we need to conduct some proper screening before admitting students to the teacher education program. I believe God created us with a combination of aptitudes, abilities, interest, and personality makeup that makes us suitable not only for one particular job, but a group of occupations. But important thing here is that we need to have an aptitude test. Aptitude, as you all know, is the potential ability. So if a person has teaching aptitude, we can develop into an ability by providing that person with proper training. So I feel that aptitude testing should be made compulsory for selection of teachers. One of my friends, who was the headmaster of Almeida and who was a state awardee also, he used to say that if a doctor commits a mistake, only one person will die. But if a teacher commits a mistake, the entire generation is gone. So it is very important that we need to conduct a screening test at the time of admission. We were listening to Professor Sadish Moh regarding the teacher eligibility test. I feel that this test should be conducted at the time of admission, not at the time of selection. Otherwise, we are wasting a lot of resources. And then we are conducting the teacher eligibility test to find out whether the teachers are eligible for teaching or not. National Policy 2020 states that teachers truly shape the future of our children and therefore the future of our nation. So the quality of teacher education, recruitment, deployment, service conditions, and empowerment of teachers is not where it should be. And consequently, the quality and motivation of teachers does not reach the desired standards. Recently, I conducted a study. It was a UGC funded project on the quality and status of teacher education in the state of Goa. It was a perception study of teachers, teacher educators, and headmasters. And the perception on the quality of teacher training in the state of Goa was at an average level. I think that it may be the same for other states too. So in order to improve the quality of teacher training, NPE 2020 suggested many measures. And already we heard from our professor, sir, that one of the important recommendations was about TET. But I have already expressed my view on that. I feel that the test and screening should be done at the time of admission and not after the training is over. And a few recommendations that I would like to highlight, since the paucity of time, I may not be able to take all the important points. But the second point that I would like to share with you is that the policy says that a technology-based comprehensive teacher requirement planning forecasting exercise will be conducted by each state to assess expected subject-wise teacher vacancies over the next 2 decades. Teacher education programs and offerings will also align with the vacancies thus projected. Economics, we always call it manpower planning or forecasting. So every year, we know that even in the state of Goa, a small state like this, around 600, 700 students, they pass out their teacher education course. But the vacancies are limited. So I feel that this is a very, very important recommendation if implemented, that a technology-based comprehensive teacher requirement planning forecasting exercise will be conducted by each state. And if this is implemented, I'm sure that there will not be any problem with the demand and supply of teachers. We will be able to train teachers according to our needs, and we will be able to improve quality also. Adequate and safe infrastructure will be provided to all schools to ensure that teachers and students, including children of all genders and children with disabilities, receive a safe, inclusive, and an effective learning environment and are comfortable and inspired to teach and learn in their schools. I think this is very important because there are some schools which have been upgraded from primary to high school to higher secondary, they don't have proper facilities. So if this is implemented, I am sure that the quality of education will improve in our country. And we already heard about CPD, that is continuous professional development. And that's a very wonderful suggestion, that 50 hours of continuous professional development every year for teachers. And recognizing that the teachers will require training in high quality content as well as pedagogy, teacher education will gradually be moved by 2030 into multidisciplinary colleges and universities. Already our Professor Satish Moth has explained on this. So by 2030, the minimum degree qualification for teaching will be 4-year integrated B.Ed degree. And some more recommendations are there, that the 2-year B.Ed program will be offered by the same institutions, that multidisciplinary institutions offering 4-year integrated program for those who have already obtained a bachelor's degree. And this program may also be suitably adapted to 1-year B.Ed program for those who have done 4 years bachelor's degree or a master's degree. We don't know how it is going to be implemented, that in the same institution that you have a 4-year integrated course, you have a 2-year B.Ed course and you have a 1-year B.Ed course. So we have to wait and see the directions from NCT, that how we are going to implement it. And finally, in order to fully restore the integrity of teacher education system, stringent action will be taken against substandard, standalone teacher education institutions running in the country, including shutting them down if required. I feel that this is going to create a lot of problems, because if thousands of teacher education institutions are being closed down, where the teachers will go and how their salary, livelihood, all that will be affected. So I hope that it will be done in a phased manner, wherein the livelihood of such teachers will not be affected. So I would like to conclude. Teacher training is an important area of concern in our educational system. Various attempts have been made to improve teacher training in our country. As you all know, NP in 1986 has suggested establishment of DIETs, that is District Institute of Education, then CT, Colleges of Teacher Education, Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, IASC, for providing teacher education at different levels. Teacher education, by and large, is conventional in its nature and purpose in our country. The integration of theory and practice in the teacher education programs still remains inadequate. Teacher education in India needs updating if it has to fall in line with the demands of the new emerging knowledge society. NPE 2020 recommendations are wonderful. There is no doubt about that. If it is implemented in letter and spirit, I am sure that the quality and status of our teacher education and education in our country will surely improve. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jojen Matthew, for giving the inputs on training and development of teachers, which has been suggested in National Education Policy 2020. I would ask the participants if there are any questions for these eminent personalities who have given their inputs on National Education Policy 2020. You may please ask a professor. Resource persons are here and they would answer your questions. Participants, if you can hear me, if you have any questions on the 3 topics where our resource persons have already spoken, if you have any questions, you may please ask. Our resource persons are ready to answer the questions. Anything in the message?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. So please ask your question.
I'm Dr. Joju John from Trivandrum. Hello,
Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. Joju John from Trivandrum.
Yes, doctor. We can hear you.
Thank you very much for the wonderful seminar and for the outstanding talks. And the practical movements in India about the innovative ideas, switching over from 2% to 3% of GDP allocation to education to 7% of GDP allocation, and uh, uh, changing, rebuilding the education of India from the elementary education till the higher education. Now, I would like to know about the practicality. Sir, is it practicable, all the suggestions, and have the government started some movements for this? That's what I would like to ask.
I would like to tell resource persons, sir, Dr. Joju John has asked that if there is any practical work has started on new education policy, because it is already mentioned what has to be done, but is it practically done, or in new academic year, this policy, new education policy will be implemented or not? If the resource persons have any idea about it, may answer.
May I answer? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As I mentioned that as far as higher education is concerned, government has already asked all the central universities to start implementing this flexible system of 4-year undergraduate education. And most of the central universities from the year 2021 will have a 4 years undergraduate course with academic credit bank, which is proposed. And once it starts with the on the basis of such experiences, if anything is needed, the same thing will start flowing into other institutions. I also mentioned that many of the private universities, if you go on their website, you will realize that many of them are already offering 4 year of courses under the degree of liberal arts, 4 years liberal arts degree, where you can have majors and minors. So they will have to just fine tune this. So we already have this kind of ecosystem in our country, whether where people were experimenting. You might have seen that 2 years back or 3 years back in Delhi, when they tried to implement 4 years of undergraduate course, there was a huge agitation by teaching staff and other students that they didn't want 4 years course. But this time, if you see, there has been acceptance in the student community, because there was no policy backing behind that Delhi University's initiative of having a 4-year course. People thought that you are introducing 4-year course simply so that people can go for higher education in America after acquiring 4 years of degree undergraduation here. So as far as higher education is concerned, there is a movement. But for school education, there has to be a national curriculum framework bill in the parliament, then national NPST bill. So until unless these 2-3 bills and Higher Education Commission of India bill, so there has to be legislation in parliament to initiate this process. Next 1 year or 2 year, the whole effort of Ministry of Education is making the ecosystem in such a way that people start accepting this. So when they are actually implemented, they happily understand what is going on and they accept it. Because in just one go, you cannot change the whole education system in such a large country where we have 800 universities and nearly 50-60,000 colleges. So there is a time frame of 15 years where this will be achieved. And I am sure until unless there are any big setbacks, this will be implemented. But of course, COVID has created some problem. So maybe 1 year or two in the initial stage, there will be an issue. But wherever I have gone to talk on this NEP, I found a huge acceptability of the provisions of this policy. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
May I ask one question, Dr. Satish? This is Dr. Supriya Shide, Principal of
Yes.
BS College of Pharmacy, your own sister concern.
Yeah.
First of all, you have given a very wonderful talk. It was a very effective overview of entire NEP, and I enjoyed your lecture. Now, I really want to know, as the head of one of the private self-funded institutions, how am I supposed to gear up the academic and administrative activities at my institution so that we get aligned with the milestones that you have explained in NEP?
As I mentioned that currently we have BCom, BSc, B Pharma, this kind of degrees. And wherever you get admission into a particular college, you directly get into that particular domain. What this national education policy is saying that you cannot bind a student, because if somebody has taken admission in B Pharma and after 1 year that student realizes, no, this is not the line I want to take and want to switch over to some other subject, say in economics, the current policy guideline does not allow this to happen. So what is going to happen, because we work in the same institutional framework in Vivekananda Education Society, I can give an example that we have a degree college, we have engineering college, we have management college, we have pharma college. All these institutions will come together and will offer, engineering will remain separate because 4 years specialized engineering courses. But in the first year of even engineering, they will have to offer floating subjects, so that after 1 year, if somebody doesn't like engineering and that student wants pharma, then after 1 year of general education, that certificate course, that student should be able to switch from engineering to pharma, or a student from pharma should be able to switch over to engineering or law degree. So somewhere this kind of framework will be created where integrated campuses will be there, departments will be there who will be offering specialized knowledges in their domain areas. In first year certificate, you will have common linguistic and analytical skills tested, and as it happens in BA liberal arts of 4-year course, after first year, when you have understood most of the subjects, there are some core courses and there are electives. So when such courses you undergo in first year, then you start choosing your major and minor from second year onwards. And second year and third year, you finish your maybe 10 subjects of major and 6 subjects of minor. So you complete your bachelor education. And then in fourth year, you can take a research subject in your major area so that you have a 4-year degree. So what I see is, for all these general courses, first year will be a kind of common analytical and linguistic expertise being built up, and they will be exposed to various subjects that will also out of their choosing. They can choose electives, they can experiment with subjects, and from second year they will have to say that these are the subjects I want to choose as majors and minors. So we may have a we may not have a pharmaceutical college, B Pharma college, but we will have a department of pharmacy, and that department of pharmacy will offer certain courses, and those who want to do undergraduation with pharmacy as domain expertise, so they will take major in pharma and then they will complete their 4 years of graduation. This is how I look at it. I hope this satisfies you. It is still under other day I was talking, I am also chairman of an architecture college, so they were saying how we will fit into it. We already have COA, Council of Architecture, which decides how architecture courses are run. But there is a move like AICT. Similarly, even Council of Architecture will also be merged into HEI. And currently what we do is architecture is a separate entrance examination. This is not going to run in this way. Next 3 to 4 years time, first year of college education, you will explore various subjects, and based on your temperament, then you choose majors and minors, and then you can do your undergraduation with major in architecture. So that way this whole thing will be there. Otherwise, like suppose in engineering college, we have electronics and telecommunication degree, and 60 seats or 120 seats have been allocated. But if students don't want to do electronics, then we have 60, 70, 80 seats vacant. this happens because there is no flexibility. Otherwise, in the new system, if suppose you are not choosing electronics, then that electronics will have only 40 seats. It will not go by number of seats approved by AICT, and then if it is not filled, you still maintain your faculty ratio, and then you have surplus faculty in some area, all that. So it has created huge issues in the current framework. So hopefully the new national education policy will try to solve these kind of ground level issues. And because these are major issues, it is giving itself 10 to 15 years so that the things settle down by 2035. It is easier for our institution because we already have 10 to 12,000 institutions in our campus, so we can directly go for a cluster university or a private university and integrate all this based on in the new national education policy. And similarly, same thing will be there in Goa or from where people are attending this. They will have to look around and join hands with other management trust. So 2, 3, 4 management trust can come together and form a cluster and start offering this kind of flexible policies. So all these things will come out when this HEI will be formed, a bill will be presented, and they will come out with guidelines of doing this.
Thank you so much, sir.
May I ask the question?
Yeah, please, Harsha.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Nice to talk to you. Being ours is also B.Ed college, but here also the problem arises, we are only running B.Ed college. Now, just now you have told me we have to form clusters. And are we allowed to form clusters, or through university we have to make? Are we allowed?
Yeah, you will be allowed to form cluster. In Mumbai itself, if we see, already there is a private university framed out of Mumbai University. In Jammu and Kashmir, if you go, Jammu and Kashmir University is already divided into 3 cluster university and main university. So this cluster universities based on various managements of private institutions, they come together and form a cluster, and then they apply to the state government about this cluster. Just yesterday, I was in Goa and I was with the Chief Minister of Goa State, Dr. Pramod Sawant, in some education program. There he himself said that he wants to make Goa an education hub in the country. And he is coming up with a education bill which will allow all this to happen. All this has to happen in a legal framework. So until unless such legal frameworks are there, you will have to keep on doing groundwork so that once the bills are in place and the rules and regulations are in place, you start moving in that direction.
But basically we are affiliated to SNDT Women's University. So can we move to such cluster university, and who will guide us where to go?
Yeah, that's what I am saying, that by 2035 there will be no affiliation system. So you will have to become autonomous college. So you start preparing. If you are already a B.Ed college, this is very good. You can go in for a 4-year B.Ed program. You can start looking at your infrastructure and infrastructure requirements and start looking at so that you become an autonomous college for teachers. Like currently we have various autonomous colleges for a specific field. So if you don't want to join hands with others, at least for teacher education, this is very clear in the bill. You can upgrade yourself to a 4-year B.Ed course by upgrading your infrastructure and becoming an autonomous. But of course, affiliation will go.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Professor Satish. If there are more questions from the participants, I request all the participants can give your suggestions during deliberations. Challenges and suggestions are welcome during deliberation we are having during breakup session. So I request all the participants there, you can give your suggestions as well as you can give your questions also. We will forward this to Professor Satish Mode and other dignitaries who have delivered their lectures over here, and we will definitely answer back. Thank you very much, Professor Satish Mode, Shri Bhaskar Khandeparkar, Dr. Jojan Matthew, for delivering such in-depth lecture on National Education Policy 2020. On behalf of GVM's Dr. Dada Vaidya College of Education, I would like to make a mention of Dr. G. Srinivas Assistant Regional Director, Regional Center, Indira Gandhi Open University, Panji, Goa. Since Sir suggested our college name to Bharatiya Shiksha Mandal and Niti Ayog to have this national seminar. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Ms. Akshata Samant, Assistant Professor at GVM's Dr. Dada Vaidya College of Education, to propose a vote of thanks and brief on further breakup sessions.
Warm wishes to everyone on board from Assistant Professor Akshata Samant. It's really an honor to express the vote of thanks for the inaugural session of today's national seminar. I take this opportunity to thank Honorable Shri Bhaskar Khandeparkar, Chairman Goa Vidya Prasarak Mandal's Working Committee and Chief Guest of today's national seminar. Thank you, sir, for sharing your in-depth knowledge and extensive expertise with us. We are indebted to Dr. G. Srinivas, Assistant Regional Director, IGNOU, RC Pendram, for giving us this opportunity to collaborate with Bharatiya Shiksha Mandal and Niti Ayog, and for helping us to organize this seminar. Sir is also the coordinator of this national seminar. Thank you, sir. I thank today's keynote speaker, Honorable Professor Satish Moth, Director, VESIM, Mumbai, for sharing his insights on the role of teachers in national education policy, and also, sir, for clearing the doubts and answering the queries of all the participants with so much of patience. Thank you. I thank respected Dr. Georgian Matthew, officiating principal, GVM's Dr. Dada Vaidya College of Education, for his guidance and for delivering the presidential address. A hearty thanks to Associate Professor Sanjay Govekar for his melodious invocation, and to Associate Professor Karuna Satardekar for as the coordinator of the national seminar, as well as for a flawless comparing of the inaugural session. Thank you. Now, just a brief up about the deliberation sessions. As we all know, that this seminar is conducted in 3 sessions: the inaugural session, the breakout session, and the valedictory session. The breakout session, which now follows, is an extremely important part of this seminar. Participants have already been segregated across 5 groups or tracks as indicated in your emailer that you have received yesterday. I now request all our esteemed participants to join in their respective groups or tracks using the joining link as mentioned in the emailer. As we have requested all of you, it is during these deliberation sessions that you can express your what on-field experiences as to what the challenges are and the possible solutions regarding implementation of NEP. Your suggestions are extremely valuable because it is these suggestions that will be compiled in a report and which will be forwarded to BSM and to Niti Ayog, which is the real crux of the entire national seminar. So thank you, and I request once again all the participants to use the joining link as mentioned in the table in your emailer and join the deliberation sessions. Now, actually, we had 10 minutes of a break, but as we have extended the time, I would request if we could very graciously give up upon this 10 minutes break and immediately join in the deliberation sessions. Thank you, everyone.